So what if I told you that the only real way to influence your future is by mastering the now? That the version of you right now is either pulling you towards or away from your ideal reality, from the kind of results and progress that you want to see. It is either pushing you towards progress or keeping you stuck in the very same cycles of the same results, of the same outcome, of the same maybe distasteful reality that you don't want to experience anymore. Most people don't even realize that they are the biggest contributors to their own continued suffering and lack of progress. And I get it. It's not easy to accept that we are the biggest contributors to our suffering, to our downfalls, to our shortcomings, to the things that are holding us back. But the truth is that your habits, your beliefs, your emotions, your actions, these are the things that either shape your success or will continue to present a lack of success in your life or progress or the manifestation of the reality that you want, right? So in this video, I'm going to break down how you can take control of your identity, reshape your reality, and start moving towards the kind of life that you want and start to become the kind of man that you fundamentally want to become. Now, one of the biggest things I've seen whilst working with people and on my own kind of self-development journey is that the biggest reason people stay stuck is that they don't even realize that they can change. They don't even realize that change is an option for them. They accept their shortcomings as final. They accept the things that hold them back, the potential negative traits about themselves, the limited belief systems that they have, etc., as the final version of themselves, as, you know, as a kind of way of just accepting that that is who I am. That is the kind of person that I am. That is what people are like where I'm from. They don't even see that change is always an option. Think of it like this, guys. Look, you can't expect to have a very nice, luxurious steak dinner if all you are ordering on the menu is frozen chicken nuggets, you know? And that ordering on the menu is you choosing change, is you doing the things that will allow you to reach and obtain and experience the luxurious steak dinner that I know you probably want right now. Metaphorically, of course. Now, a book that I read before called The Kybalion says this: every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Now, that basically means, guys, I say this in my videos a lot, it is a matter of input and output. So if you don't even see that you can change, you're never going to even go on that kind of exploration journey, of that self-development journey, of trying to obtain new perspectives, new information to fundamentally make those changes to yourself. If you think that you are stuck in the same level of body, mind, and soul, you're obviously not going to be able to change that. So it's important that you first accept that if you are not where you want to be and you know you have some potential things that you need to work on, that you understand change is an option. You can change the frameworks of your consciousness. You can change the kind of person you want to be. That is the fundamental prerequisite to experiencing a change in your reality, is that understanding that you are capable of change in the first place. So if your current version of you is only capable of producing the same results you've always gotten, then it's obvious you need to change that version of you, right? If the input is only conducive to a certain output, then it is obvious we cannot operate on the same inputs, the same level of body, mind, and soul, and think that we can experience a different output, a different outcome. The funny thing about change is that change will require of you one thing, and that is change. You cannot change unless you change, right? You cannot experience change unless you change some of the things about yourself. So let me show you how I did this in my own life and how I do this with others as well. One of the most important things, guys, and the first step on this journey, is to become the observer. Step outside of yourself and simply watch. How do you act? How do you think? How do you feel? How do you react to situations? Is it conducive to the kind of man you want to become? Is it conducive to the kind of lifestyle that you're trying to create for yourself? Or do you think there's some things that you need to overcome and work on for you to be able to step into that reality? When I first did this, a few major things that I was able to observe about myself was these. I was reactive instead of responsive. The kind of earliest influences I had around me about self-regulation, self-accountability, my self-image, what masculinity is, what healthy manhood is, it was very all over the place. It wasn't the kind of examples that I wanted. It was very temperamental, up and down, no control over the inner world. So I naturally was very irate and reactive and aggressive and had issues with controlling my anger and my temper when I was a young man, until I realized that wasn't serving me in my journey to becoming the kind of man that I want to be. I lived in my head constantly. I was moving fast, never regulating my emotions or my energy, and life felt like it was speeding by without me even experiencing it, because I was just in fight or flight the whole time. I was so reactive, and I do think kind of growing up in London does have that kind of effect on you, because there is some kind of cultural issues in London when you're a young man growing up, when you're out with your friends and having to worry about other boys with knives or whatever the case may be, always on the back of your mind. I do think that has a role there as well. But fundamentally, the way I was choosing to operate and navigate through life consciously was holding me back, and I was very reactive instead of being responsive. I stretched myself too thin. I made too many promises to myself and failed to keep them because of the load that I was trying to handle. This fundamentally broke down my trust in myself and damaged my self-image, especially because I had a lot of people break promises to me when I grew up. So that was just throwing salt in that wound constantly. I think because I was trying to prove, for other reasons which I'll go into in a second, and I still am to a certain extent. I don't think trying to become or prove something is a bad thing at all, but I think when you are trying to do too much, where you leave yourself such thinly stretched to where you can't actually divert the attention and energy into certain areas, that enough energy into certain areas, that will bring about a certain kind of response or result, because it's such low quality, because you have to focus on so many different things. I also never gave myself positive recognition. My relationship to my own body, mind, and soul was very negative and more hate-based. I would motivate myself negatively instead of encouraging myself, like trying to be on the same team as myself. I never validated myself, so I constantly sought validation externally, whether it be from peers, whether it be from women growing up, whether it be from my parents, whatever the case may be. Fundamentally, I was putting too much importance on the opinions of people that didn't really care about me at all. I was trying to, and I think that's a part of becoming a young man anyway. As you grow out of that, you don't really care about people's opinions anymore. But I was trying to impress people from achievements that didn't really fulfill me. So I was kind of living out of alignment with my authentic self-expression. I also feared judgment. I was scared to express my authentic self, to talk about my real passions, to put myself out there. And I've battled with this even up until recently. Sometimes I still have a little bit of work there to do. But when I was younger, I would have these plans and I would do all these things. And I would say, I want to do this work and post this content. And I would always let that opinions of others and the fear of judgment get in the way, until I started to work and break down that barrier. And lastly, I didn't manage my life well. I had big ideas, but let self-doubt stop me from acting on them. That was mainly due to my self-image, I think. I had a lot of broken promises to me when I was younger, and I think that kind of set the tone of my internal dialogue and my relationship to my own body, mind, and soul, as I said. And I didn't really have anyone speak life into me and tell me that, you are capable, you can do this, you can do that. And the examples of role models that I had, again, I never really had anyone to look up to. So I had to look for those people digitally. And I was thankful that as I was in my teenage years, that's when YouTube was first kind of starting out. People was first starting to post content. So I did have people to inspire me and steer me to becoming the kind of man that I want to be and continue to pursue being. But fundamentally, I didn't manage myself well. And I let myself get broken down. I didn't have any kind of systems or structure. I would make these promises and break them. And that put me in a pit of kind of self-hate and self-loathing and vice that I had to crawl up out of. And from that introspection, I was able to realize and highlight the very things that I needed to work on. I did not internalize them or have hate towards myself. I just observed them as behaviors, as things about me that I knew if I wanted to experience change that I would have to work on. I would have to overcome these obstacles. I would have to overcome these traits about myself if I wanted to really become the kind of man that I want to be and achieve the reality that I want. And I think, guys, when you understand and you observe the kind of environment that you grew up in as well, just another little story here. These patterns for me came from my upbringing living in East London, where I was surrounded by men who numbed themselves with alcohol, drugs, and distractions, where success seemed only limited to becoming a rapper, a footballer, or selling drugs, becoming a criminal. At the time, the online space wasn't a thing when I was a young man. So they were the only really ways that you could see abundance of money and see opportunity. Because that small cage of consciousness that I grew up in doesn't allow you to perceive the potentiality of the things outside of that cage. So for me growing up, when I would see people with the big clothes and the big cars that would come to the pub that my family run and they were selling cocaine in the toilets and stuff like that, I was seeing that and thinking, wow, like he's got all the girls after him as a young man. That is an example to you, right? But then it was only when I started to see them get locked up and do time in prison, and I would observe their behavior, that I used to just sit there and think, actually, do I really want that for myself? Most probably not. I was never going to be a footballer. I used to play rugby, and rugby players don't get paid a lot anyway. But yeah, that was the kind of environment I grew up in, right? And if you do not possess the ability to step back, put all of that into a box, and observe the things inside of that box, you will be encapsulated by the box, and you will step inside the box and be trapped in that box forever. So that's why becoming the observer is a crucial part. Observe yourself and observe the environment around you and how that might be having an influence on your ability to manifest the kind of reality that you want, to become the kind of man you want to be, instead of just living on autopilot as like an NPC and accepting things as they come. And I must do this job because that's what my daddy told me, or that's what the government said in school when I was growing up. Actually think, fuck that. Do I want that for myself? Why am I accepting that as face value as the only route for me? I'm the captain of my ship. I steer my consciousness any way in which I choose, and I will create the life that I want for myself because I choose the path of self-actualization. That is it. But here's the thing, look, just because I was exposed to these influences didn't mean I had to accept them as my reality, and the same goes for you. So question, ask, and observe. Now, once you've identified these patterns holding you back, here's how to change them. One of the most effective ones is start to build momentum, stack small wins. Build momentum by making small changes and acting on them, being consistent with them. Go for a walk instead of staying on the couch. Change your self-talk. Forgive yourself for your past mistakes. Change the way in which you interact with yourself. Instead of saying to yourself, "Oh, you fat shit, get off the sofa, you're never going to make anything." Say, "Listen, bro, we're trying to change your life here. Do you really think eating this third bag of crisps today is going to serve you in creating the reality that you want?" Contemplate the consequences. Think about it. Because if you do not contemplate the consequences of your actions or lack of actions, you will get smacked with the biggest right hand a decade later when the quality of your reality is shit because of your own actions or lack of actions. Next up, rewire your beliefs. Recognize that your self-imposed limitations are just stories. You can rewrite them at any time. You are the writer, the author of your own story. Your beliefs, your behaviors, all of that is part of the kind of, you would say, the tonality of your story, right? You don't have to have the same tonality from pages 1, chapters 1 and chapters 2. You can rewrite that. You just have to understand that your beliefs are the kind of vehicle that will navigate you through this reality, through your world. And if they are not in alignment with the man you want to be or the reality that you want to experience, and of course you're going to have issues. So question that, become conscious of it and change it. Next up, Regulate your emotions. Stop reacting and start responding. Breathe. Slow down. Take a breath, bro. Become aware of the state you live in daily. This was the game changer for me. I was up here in my throat and head, thinking, instead of breathing down into my belly, into my nuts, controlling that breath, controlling the energy in which I'm living in. Instead of being reactive and angry and letting all of these things pull me around left, right, and center, I was starting to be the captain of my own ship, my own consciousness. Because if you react, you are being led. If you respond, you are leading. You need to be the leader of your own body, mind, and soul to ultimately be the captain of your life. Life happens from you, not to you. Stop reacting and start responding from the kind of energy that you want to respond from, the kind of energy that you want to live from. Embody that. Next up, take ownership. Stop blaming your circumstances. Play the cards you were dealt to the best of your ability. Stop whinging, stop moaning, stop wanting someone to come and save you. I've done that for years. That did fuck all for me. That did nothing for me. Until I stood there and said, listen, look at all these examples around me of men that didn't take action, still calling me up, asking me for 10 quid, for 20 quid when they're 60, because of the consequences of their inaction, because of the consequences of the lack of work they done on themselves. They just sat there and accepted the culture as the only way. Fuck that. If you want to become a better man, guys, then you have to want to do that work on yourself. You can't accept the status quo and then just expect to have different results, I grew up around men necking pints, going down the betting shop, sniffing gear and fucking, having a bad relationship to their sexuality. If I just went down that path and stayed with all the old people that I used to chill with and around the old kind of culture that I used to live in, I would be the exact same version of that. You are a byproduct of the level of consciousnesses that you expose yourself to, basically meaning other people's minds, and also the environment. If that environment is only conducive to a certain reality and you do not question that, you cannot sit there and moan and bitch about your lack in your life and the lack of progress that you're seeing and the level of mind and heart and soul that you're living with. Because that's on you, because that is a choice. What you are not changing, you are choosing. And if you do not change these parts of yourself, brother, then you are choosing them. And if you continue to choose them, then that's your choice, right? You can't sit there and moan about that. The information is there. You have the ability to change it. If you do not, then that's a choice you're making, fundamentally. You are the captain of your life. Start taking it any way in which you want to go and stop letting these things around you influence this mind, and start taking ownership of what you put in here and what you allow to happen inside your head. Because no one will come to save you. And if the longer you put off the actions that you need to take to move steps forward, to start making steps forward, the longer those consequences will continue to just chin you left, right, and center. Focus on identity, not just goals. It's not just about what you want. It's about becoming the kind of person that gets to have what you want because of the way they think, act, and feel. That is the biggest game changer. Focus on the becoming. Standing in the state of energy that attracts the reality that you want. Rather than thinking, I want to get a Rolex to shag more birds and look like the man. Think, listen, I want to be in a position of financial abundance to, if I wish to choose to indulge on certain things, I can and not have to worry about it. That's just one example, right? Then you can start to focus on the inputs that will get you there. Too many people focus on the material. The material is just a byproduct of the internal world and the actions and the inputs. There's no point just focusing on the external if your internal is a war zone. Now, once you focus on the becoming, that gives you that sense of purpose as well. And that is a lifelong purpose. For me, I want to focus on becoming the best man I can be, the best father I can be in the future, the best martial artist I can be. And what do? I look at the things I need to do to carry on becoming that, and I do them. Then, if you don't see the results you want, because of whatever reason, you've done all you can. But if you're sitting there complaining about your reality, but you're going down the betting shop all the time and you're still addicted to pornography, these are things that you might want to look into changing if you do want to see a different quality of reality for yourself across your body, across your mind, across your soul, across your relationships, across your relationship to your own sexuality, and your ability to regulate that, your romantic relationships, and how to make that woman feel loved and contained and provided for, and like you are kind of in your masculine energy, controlling your consciousness, not having all these things pull you around left, right, and center to where she's doubting you as well. All of those things are a byproduct of becoming a better man. So focus on the becoming rather than, I just want material things. You have to have the humility and be humble enough to accept that you might have flaws. Another quote from the Kabbalion says that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. If you are open to seeing your patterns for what they are, you'll gain the wisdom to change them. If you do not, if you remain closed off and you reject that you have flaws and you don't want to accept that you might have some work to do on yourself, then you're just going to work on the same inputs. And as we know, as I've continued to say, if you focus on the same and work on the same inputs, you will get the same output. And that is it. Now, guys, if you want a different future, you have to stop letting your past dictate it. Change requires of you change. As I said earlier in the video, if you operate from the same inputs, you will always get the same output. Another quote from Joe Dispenza says, if we cannot think greater than how we feel, we can never change. So you need to learn to be the controller and captain of this. This is the biggest thing. Okay, because if you are working on inputs that have been programmed into you from your earliest years and they are sporadic and temperamental and pulling you all over the place, and you have no awareness around your emotional state, then you need to learn to think greater than that so you can be the captain of your internal world, the captain of your ship, so you can sail wherever you want to go, right? That is the biggest thing, guys. Making sure that you can remain in control of your internal world, become aware, and choose conscious living. If you don't, you will operate on the same inputs time and time again with the same vices, the same behaviors, the same belief systems, and you will get the same level of reality. You will get the same level of love. You will get the same level of relationships. You will get the same level of finance. You will get the same level of health. So start looking for those changes so you can start experiencing change in your reality. Let me ask you, are you ready to take control of your identity, of your reality? Are you ready to rewrite the stories that have kept you stuck? If you are ready and you found this video helpful and you want some real guidance and accountability in this process, check out the links down below, as there are some links to coaching calls. If you just want a short-term kind of brain pick and you want me to be in your corner over the course of a few weeks, or you really want some one-on-one help and you want to dive deep into this transformation and you really want to set that foundation of change and have me there for months, then links to my full coaching program is down below as well. Now, guys, I'm very grateful for your continued support, for your messages, for your comments. It means a lot. I'm a busy guy right now. I'm trying to put out this content. I'm trying to become the best martial artist I can be, the best man I can be. And that all takes time, But I hope this video struck some chords of consciousness in your mind that you can then explore and start to see the changes in your life that you want to see for you to become the man you want to be. And otherwise, let's make this shit happen. And I'll see you in the next video.